I'm going to go ahead and start recording. And again, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being with us today. And it's my honor and privilege to introduce you to Cindy Lenhoff, the Director of the National Child Care Association.
Well, thank you, Diane, and thank you for helping us bring this webinar to members of the NCCA and members of the Inspire Care organization, and anyone out there that was able to pick up our invite off of social media. I'm excited to be hosting our second webinar for the NCCA, and just want to thank all of you that are out there providing that essential early care and education to young children, and making sure that it is happening in centers throughout the United States. And also just to remind you that one of our purposes here at the NCCA, one of our missions, part of our mission statement says we are here to promote and help the early care and education providers, the high quality licensed early care and education providers, in being successful in the delivery of early care and education to the children throughout the United States that need childcare. And ultimately, I want to also remind you that advocacy is number one for us here in the National Child Care Association office, because we know that we aren't able to deliver a high quality program without funding and support from our US legislators. So I would encourage you, if you're not a member of NCCA, to go to our website and join, and ultimately become a part of that advocacy. You will receive our emails and our action alerts, and at the push of a button, you can let your US representative and legislature, sorry about that, a little tongue-tied, our US legislators, both your congressman and your...
She's muted.
Oh no, Cindy, I'm so sorry. There we go.
Okay, so anyway, I don't know why it muted itself. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, great. So that you can go and at the push of a button, let your legislators know in Washington, D.C. that what you need to be successful. And there's some activity back there. I don't know if anybody else can hear it. I apologize. Are we there?
Yes,
okay.
Good. Keep going.
Okay, so anyway, we need to make sure they know they do not have our permission, either as childcare providers, educators, parents, business leaders, in ignoring what childcare needs to thrive, not just during this pandemic, but after. And if you need help in knowing more about what it is we need, certainly go to NCCA .net, and you will be able to pull up our information, or give us a call. The phone number is also on that webinar. Now, before I go too long, because I can get on a roll about advocacy, one of our partners in advocacy is here today to talk with us about the recruitment and the retention of quality staff. And I am so pleased to introduce to you Tony D'Agostino. He is with Inspire Care 360, and I'm going to let you tell you more about his awesome organization. And I also want you to know that Tony is also an owner and operator of 3 childcare centers. So Tony, it's all yours.
Hey, Cindy, thank you so much for having me, and everybody out there, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. I'm going to bring you through a few different slides, and hopefully I don't kill you with too many slides. And we'll definitely, if you have any questions, please ask Diane, whether they're questions for Cindy or for myself. I'm going to talk a little bit about Inspire Care 360, but first, the element, what we sent out about this was about walk the line. And when we are speaking about walk the line, it is a critical element about our business. So you see up front here, it says simplify, prosper, and thrive. That's the mission for Inspire Care 360 for our members and their success. One of the key elements that we have is we're calling walk the line. And this is a concept. This is a concept I want to share with you this afternoon, and it's why employees come and stay. So why don't we just dive right on into it? Now, we cannot do a physical poll with the kind of configuration we have with Zoom today, but I'm just going to give you a mental poll. How much do you believe it costs the company for the turnover of a team member, just one team member, whether it's an assistant director to a teacher, to a director, to a cook? 1,500, 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, or even 10,000. So we don't have a way to do that poll, but in your mind, you have chosen one of these numbers. And if you have guessed more than 10,000, you would be correct. Today, the cost is enormous. And a lot of times people say, well, I just don't see that cost. I see that someone came in, they didn't work out, they left. But what they oftentimes don't take into consideration are all the elements that really make up the cost for one person turning over, from what it's taken to build out job descriptions, to recruiting, investing in that recruiting in social media and Indeed, and then interviewing and the time it takes and putting them through classrooms. And then what happens when they're actually in a classroom and then they choose to leave, and the impact it has on not only the children, which it has the biggest impact on, but the families. There's often times when a staff member leaves, families pull because they see turnover and turbulence happening at the center. Other staff members start to question whether they're making the right move of staying at your center. So that's why it's really important that if we do some of the math, and I want to try to be really conservative here. Now, some of you may work in a center, you may operate one center, you may operate multiple centers. In general terms, though, if you had 2 to 3 center locations, you'd have on average probably somewhere around 60 employees. I actually have 3 centers myself, and I have 80 staff members. And typically, though, for a regular childcare business, you have about a 40% turnover. That's huge if you think about it. 40% is almost like close to getting up to half of the whole population turns over annually. And let's say out of this scenario, 60 of them, if you had 24, we just took a number that was at the very bare bottom of $33.28 cost for one turnover, not the 10,000 plus that actually statistics nationally say, but the $3,328. This shows that for 24 people turning over, this is $80,000 that goes from your bottom line to the cost of turnover at the very minimum. This is 80,000. So there is really a huge number. And if you start taking the cost for families that may leave or staff members that may leave because of this, then the number becomes exponentially higher and can be in the hundreds of thousands just from the turnover within 1 year. So it also creates a lot of stress, because you know that we're all in ratio, we must be in ratio, must stay in ratio, but there's a lot of lost productivity from a director who might have to go in and spend time in the room, to other staff who have to work longer hours, to the fact if you're an operator or owner, you have to come in and start working the job and not working on your other duties. So it really sets us back. So talking about walk the line, I think, is really sort of important, and that's what we're going to discuss today. The reason I have the concept of walk the line is everybody has a line. And what I call it is like in your personal life, in your business life, we all have a line. And that's a line that people say is, oh, they crossed the line, there's no coming back. It could be in a relationship you have with a friend, with a spouse, with a significant other, but it could be at work. It could be an employer. Well, they crossed the line, they just went too far. They crossed the line. And that line it's the distance between that staff member of yours and that that line, that imaginary line that they have of going, yeah, everything's good until that line is crossed. And they might not even know how to describe where it is. But in our world, our objective is to try as owner operators to try to discover, how do we understand where that line is and how do we really keep people? So for those of you who had some college experience and went to Psychology 101, you'll remember this thing called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. This was a pyramid that really talked about how people, just the basic needs individuals, period, need to survive is the most basic ones. The physiological ones on the bottom are about air, water, food, shelter. These are things that people will scrap for. They need just to possibly survive. And when you look at the second one, the safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, health and property. This realistically, you see the left, this is where our typical employees, especially in the childcare area, come in. They need a job. They're looking for a job. They have a job that takes care of that box. Check. I now have employment that gives me some personal security. I can now take care of the air, water, food, shelter, but it's just on the borderline of it, especially since we know margins are so tight in our industry. We can't pay people a fortune by any means, and it's really a thin margin business. So we are right at the edge of how much we can pay, and some states are really escalating what those minimum wages are right now, and that means the price goes up for families. But the objective is when you look higher in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you get to this love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, a sense of connection, and then to a self-esteem. You really get to this esteem area of respect, status, recognition, freedom. This is really when you get to an engaged team member. And this is critical when I talk about walking the line, or how do you engage and how do you build culture and how do you expand and keep those staff members that are the right fits for your team. Yes, if you get to self-actualization for your staff members, that's where they know their own destiny, they know where they're going, they've got everything under control, they're all self-actualized with it. But realistically, what we're trying to do is to build the culture based on elevating our staff to this belonging, where they feel like they belong to a center. Not that they are just employed, but they are belonging to that group. It's not as easy as it sounds, obviously. But culture offers an immediate benefit that can be felt in real time. That was a statement, and notice how it is. It talks about why millennials value culture. Right now, most of us who own and operate centers, a number of people out there of the millennial generation, and most of us who operate centers are employing mostly millennials. Culture is probably one of the most massive elements of why people choose to work at a company they work for today. It is typically not a paycheck. If you work in San Francisco today, you have a very difficult time of paying people over $15 an hour for a childcare position, maybe up to 20. Facebook has an unlimited number of jobs over $30 an hour in San Francisco. So when we work with our members out there, they really have to look at what does culture mean. So really, let's talk about how do we do the best to push that line out as far as possible. And Harvey McKay in 7 Habits of Highly Successful People really talks about the element of you need to invest in others. You need to make deposits basically in their bank before you can start making withdrawals, to really poorly paraphrase what he was saying. But what that really means is oftentimes we have staff members come in, and before we know it, we've asked that staff member to walk in the front door and go into a room because we're missing a toddler teacher and we just need to take a breather. We've invested nothing in that person. That individuals come in and we've thrown them to the wolves, the toddlers. Okay. And I had to work because I had an incident that happened where I didn't exactly fully understand some of the elements that were going on in my center. And I actually ran a toddler room. Yes, 6'4", Tony DiAugustino here for about 2.5 to 3 weeks. And somehow I managed to make it through Monsterville. But the kids were just amazing. And I learned a ton more about my capabilities to keep it together. But at the end of the day, when we talk about walking line, so how do you push this line out as far as possible? To do that, there's a number of key elements. And I know these are a lot of things that you want to get to someday, but this is what's critical. And I have a summary page coming up in a slide or two, which we're also going to get this deck out to you, so the summary slides. So we'll get this out to you too, so you don't have to go scrambling to write them all down or what have you. But values. If you do not have values, it is critical to have values. These are the means of what you live by as an organization. If you do not share the same values as your families, as your other staff members, as what you have as an owner operator, if you're a director and you do not share the same values, you're on two different fields altogether. You're not playing the same sport. You're in a situation where you're almost talking two different languages. It's critical to get people onto the same values and using those values to recruit. When you recruit, if you're recruiting people for a job, they're only getting a job. If you recruit for values, you are going to get someone who's going to be matching up with your culture. And that's what you're doing, is you're hiring for that culture. So what's critical, what is sort of a shift here, is thinking about, instead of leading off your job posting about, oh, we need a toddler teacher, the toddler teacher needs to have X amount of experience, they need to do this, they need to have these compliance requirements, blah, 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 blah. But if you started off with someone, we need someone, we're an open communication environment. We believe in authenticity. We are big believers in those who come up with innovative ideas. Those are your values. That's what's critical here. And then you look at benefits. The difference oftentimes between a job, how people think about a job, and what they think about as a career are benefits. The reason is because if you looked at that Maslows Hierarchy of needs, only employment means getting a paycheck. But you start combining the culture along with what you would get for a paycheck and then having benefits. The challenges, we all know, benefits are wildly expensive. So how do we get around that? Well, we'll talk about this a little later. IC360 has some solutions there, but whether you work with us or not, benefits is a key component. Another element is onboarding. What is the experience when they come in? Think about it when a teacher comes to work for you. It's like the first day a new student goes to a new school that they've never been to before by themselves. They walk in, they don't know anybody. They don't even know where the bathrooms are. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to get things from. They really do not have a systematic way of understanding how they should act, what they should do, who they should talk to. And oftentimes they get thrown to the wolves. So the experiences sometimes are not the most positive. And they're holding on to your coattails, whether it be a director or an owner operator. And then measured mentoring. What we mean by that is it mentoring that it's sort of like just watch what Joni does, or is it really about, now that they've really gotten up to speed, let's have that person who just came in actually apply their knowledge and let's give them solid feedback. And then performance and expectations is really, do they know what to do to perform? I know most of you, in any job you've ever held, whether you own and operate centers now or you work for someone else, you find out it's the most difficult job to achieve any kind of success when you don't know what you're trying to achieve. You don't know what your objectives are. You don't know how that you're possibly going to get to those objectives because it's a sliding scale. You're like, I'm just working here today, but I have no idea what I'm going after. So having performance and performance expectations is critical. And then looking at how people develop it. I use this term, and I understood recently from a few people that people aren't familiar with the cobbler's kids, those are people who make shoes. Well, there used to be an old, I'm not sure if it's a parable or a limerick or whatever it was, or fairy tale, but it was really about the cobbler's kids' shoes would never get fixed. We have all these teachers in here trying to educate our little ones, yet we rarely, beyond compliance training, give them any professional development. And it is critical that you have educators who can learn, who can grow, who can develop into professionals. And we're not talking about just how to teach curriculum or to manage behavior, but really to be a better professional, how to communicate, how to handle issues like conflict, how to deal with parent situations or management issues, and how for a director to handle finance issues, things of that nature. And then you look at reward. and you look at what it takes for a person to achieve and what they get rewarded at the end, and then having some element of a career path. And it's like within childcare, career pathing, it's pretty flat. Well, there is really opportunities. So let's talk about what I call the 9 ways that you can engage, build culture, and keep your staff. First is creating those joint values. Jointly develop them with your staff, your admin, and your owners. You can do this using survey tools. You can do this having small workshops. And we have a good bunch of examples for you at IC360. But you really want to define what your target culture is, because you happen to be the owner operator. Because you have certain values doesn't mean that your families and your staff are going to share the same. So it's important that you come together with them on joint values as to just your values. 2 is your job postings. It is really important that you focus on what the values are of your organization once you turn out to them. That you're looking for that job posting to be very authentic, to just not be, if you look out there first and do a search for a toddler position or for an assistant director or whoever you might be hiring, first do a search, see what everybody else is posting. And you're going to notice the majority of people are just posting a job, a paycheck with the job duties that they have. They're not really talking about the career, and you really need to recruit for a career. It's great if you have something like a CRM to use for recruitment, where when you can keep track of what people come in and make sure that you reach back out to them and almost have a drip campaign for it. But also the first place you should really start is with your staff and families if you haven't already. But really look at taking advantage of social media as well as your staff and families before you just go posting on Indeed or Craigslist or the other kind of paid services, or even if they're free. You're going to find, as we all know, the very best from referrals. And then you look at recruiting. So you're actually looking for hiring culture first. One of the major shifts that I made in my organization was really thinking about, instead of hiring for talent, someone who's really experienced and paying more for experience, I want to hire for culture, because I can teach an individual skills. What I can't teach is I can't teach culture. Culture comes with that individual, and getting that person on board for culture is critical. So yeah, the basic need, being able to meet the compliance standards of your state, critical. But at the end of the day, culture is king, and it's based on your values. Then making sure to take people in, I know a lot of you do this, is put them into a classroom, see how it goes, but make sure that you have the other teacher that they're in there with is going through a full evaluation with them, that they already have a predefined evaluation sheet. They're looking at not only the things that they've done to help out in the classroom, but how do they, again, blend into the culture. And then that individual who came in for that experience, you should be surveying each one of them after the fact, after their interview, to get what their experience was. If they're not having a good interview experience, they may not be staying around for long. They may not take the job up front. They might have other opportunities, and you're going to lose the best talent. If you have it just like you care about enrollment, possible prospective enrollments coming in, and you're worried about the smell of diapers, are you still worried about the smell of diapers when an interview comes in? Are you worried about the fact that you have an interviewee waiting an hour? Would you ever do that to prospective family before they were going to tour? No, you would never do that. So getting the interviewee's side of the story is critical to your development. Then onboarding is everything. It really is about now taking and pulling the story together, making sure you have a handbook that's not just signed and put in a drawer, but becomes sort of your playbook overall for your organization. Your new hire orientation, this should be something that is built out to be consistent. A lot of times our directors do a great job, but they oftentimes don't have the time to do a thorough, consistent one. So having a course, maybe a distance learning prepared course or something of that nature that makes it very consistent, engaging, interactive, something where they're going to retain information is going to be critical, but it's focused on your values, your culture, and your expectations. And then having very strong operational procedures. That's one of the brass rings I know from owning and operate my own centers, is we're always looking, going, why is it that we just cannot get our hands around operational procedures? Because it is so huge, but your operational procedures are going to be different from your center or your school than any other schools that are out there. and then ability to have people apply their knowledge once they've learned these elements, as to just have someone showing them around in a mentoring. So to continue on this, having a benefits program that is affordable and flexible is critical to bring people in, and is part of the recruitment and the retention. It is really a key element for not only that benefit program to be helpful for that staff member, but it has to be for yourself too, as an owner operator, to make sure that all your numbers work too. Those performance expectations are critical, based on your values, on your culture, not just their activity, just not always about how many enrollments we have or how well your classroom is, but what are they doing to blend into the culture? Communication is critical, that you're always communicating and providing feedback to your staff. And then professional development, like the cobbler's kids we talked about. That professional growth is a must. And you should be always encouraging a learning environment. In our centers, that has become a staple of coming in, and we talk about it in our recruiting, and it really perks people's ears up that we're a learning environment, that we want people to learn. If people are there in an interview and they don't want to learn, honestly, I don't want them. I want people who want to grow. But that's just me. You may have a different value. For us, we're a learning world, and the learning environment is part of our values. And then having different paths, learning paths where people can grow to different positions, whether they want to go into management or they want to become maybe a master performer as a teacher. And then having a rewards program. So pay is one thing, but your performance evaluation shouldn't lead to just pay. You can do many things of like such employee of the month. You can have hustle award programs, either based on one of your individuals, or if you have multiple centers, what center is hustling more than the other center? You can offer things like parking spots, PTO, social gatherings. There's a lot of non-monetary things that really engage staff, because remember, your reward program is about rewarding that they're blending and they're leading your culture, not that they're just showing up. And you should never be rewarding anybody just because you have to choose an employee of the month, and Sally never has been chosen. If Sarah's the one who does it all the time, or Jasmine has always been the one who's doing it, then bring Jasmine back every month as employee of the month, because she is the shining star. And then career pathing. You have an opportunity really to do a number of different things that really focus on not just a teacher to a director role, but you can do assistant teacher to a teacher to a program like your infant, toddler, wobbler, preschool program leaders, individuals who run curriculum, individuals who are the social ambassadors for the organization, from assistant directors to regional, to coordinating directors, to executive directors. There are a lot of opportunities that you have job distinctions that can merit both wage increase, benefits, and a number of things. So those are the 9 elements. We're going to be able to give those to you after. I have about a half hour left, and so I'm going to go in and talk to you a little bit about Inspire Care 360. But hopefully you see that with Walk the Line, it is critical that all these things, these 9 ways that you engage people, are really a way to push that line all the way out, to push it out as far as possible. Because when something doesn't go right, okay, let's say a paycheck issue doesn't go right, let's say a PTO issue doesn't go right, let's say that there is someone gets sick, or someone decides that they don't want to come in because of COVID, or there's another issue. You do not want to lose someone just because of a small issue. You want to have invested in them greatly, and the people you have focused on your culture. So you push that line way out. So there is both forgiveness and opportunity to build back up. And that's what we mean by walking the line, pushing that line all the way out, getting the most through that relationship individually with each one of your team members, not employees, but your team members. So let's talk about Inspire Care 360. So with Inspire Care 360, we help you simplify, prosper, and thrive. Now, to tell you a little bit about myself, Cindy did a great job of telling up front, about the number of different things of how we met. And I had a chance to meet Cindy at a conference last February. And in addition to meeting her, we had a chance to even have her join us on one of our webinars. And I'm a real big believer in the advocacy that NCCA has and what they've been doing. But to give you a little background on us, we, just like yourselves, we are owner operators too. We have, actually I had originally 6 centers, but I operationalized them down. I actually sold one of them because it made sense to. The other 2 I decided to consolidate, but I actually got down to 3 centers that perform at a very high level. And I started about 4 years ago, Inspired Care 360. I've been owning and operating centers for about 10 years. I have over 80 staff and about 350 kids. And I've dealt with all those issues, and my teammates have dealt with all those issues, from regulatory issues to all the purchasing, any kind of licensing, you know, any kind of the reputation, Department of Health, all the things going on with COVID right now. We deal with it every day, just like you guys do. And when I got into the business, though, I really identified that, you know, it was really an unfair advantage that was going on between the independent owners. Now, some of you may work for a nonprofit, some of you may work for a large corporate one, but I did notice that for the independents, it was really a different world. What I did see, though, across the board were very similar challenges, and they were validated by this Hi Mama survey. But the greatest challenges, really, and today, these have risen to the top, is enrollment and reputation. Second now is staff and labor, but if we looked at pre-COVID, staff and labor was by far and away the #1 challenge, and it is making a quick comeback as being the #1 challenge. And the third one is really your efficiency and profitability in your centers. Many centers don't make an awful lot, and that is a shame, because I'm a big believer that owner-operators need to put the oxygen mask on first. For them to help themselves, they have to help themselves first before they can then take care of their staff, who then will take care of the little ones, which then will not only keep your enrollments, but will bring on many more enrollments and many more staff. And we'll talk more about that. But with the greatest challenge, bringing families back, we're in a new norm, a crazy new norm. At my centers, I'm about 65 to 70% back to what our normal was. And it's crazy. You know, I'm sort of, you know, pedaling as fast as I can. I'm working with government entities, NCCA, as well as a few other entities are really pushing for funding. And I think it's really important to take Cindy's lead on those kind of things, because I'm really following through with that too. But you really have to look at, how do you now market? How do you now brand? How do you now look at working with families who are not sure when to come back or how to come back? Then looking again, like we were just talking about with Walk the Line, your culture, your wages, healthcare issues are critical to staff and labor. Lack of professional development and career opportunity is one of our biggest challenges of why it's hard to retain, you know, to recruit and retain staff. And then you look at efficient and being profitable. Operational support, we're oftentimes like that person who's spinning a bunch of plates on sticks and watching one of those plates fall over here or fall over there and trying to put another plate on and spin it, is because it is a very, you know, multitasking kind of job. We know it. You know, I always say the director's role is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world, and it's true. And as owner operators, or if you're director, owner operator, you know you more than have your hands full, and teachers also have their hands full. But we're oftentimes lacking efficiency, and we lack buying power, because even if we owned and operated 20 centers, we still don't have 2,400 centers like a KinderCare would. So I don't get it. This is what happened when I walked into the centers. Now, I had to take a picture of what I might have looked like back then. Okay, this is actually a picture of me this morning after I woke up going, I got to show them sort of what I look. Okay, so hopefully I don't look as bad right now, but I probably do. But anyhow, I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand why there doesn't seem any kind of like centralized support that really will help me as an owner operator get to the next level. And so what I noticed is, I acquired my centers, and I noticed this from talking to a lot of owner operators, that their operating margins are 5 to 10%. That's sort of crazy when you think about it. If you look at a center that has up to 100 enrollments, and each kid is worth about $10,000 a year, that's $1 million revenue organization. And for you to have 5 to 10%, that means that 5%, that's $50,000 that the owner operators pushed in all of their chips to possibly make a year out of that center. So I was really like, wow, when I took over these centers, people were making very little margin. Then I also looked at the enrollment was only 60% when I took over. And there was a ton of turnover of enrollments. You know, people were coming for a bit and then they were leaving, and they were coming and they were leaving. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And then the staff turnover was tremendous too. We all know this. This is nothing new for us, okay? But that's what gave me an idea. And that idea was really about what if we could actually approach a solution, which turns out to become Inspire Care 360, that is what I call the secret to managing a childcare business success. And the focus follows right along with making sure that you have a very strong focus on some key pillars in your business, and then having an entity like Inspire Care 360 that can support that. So first is engagement. How do you consistently engage your staff? And how does that engagement of your staff help you engage your families? Pillar number one. Pillar number two, very important for us all, is we want to grow our enrollment. That's a huge pillar, always. But what's critical to that too is growing your reputation. Your reputation is everything, as Jeff Bezos says. It's the thing that people talk about when you leave the room, is your reputation. And not enough time and energy is put into building it or protecting it. And that's a key pillar. Third is optimization. So this is looking at how you operationalize your business and take advantage of it. You're already bringing the revenue in. How much of that do you want to bring in so you can have as either profitability or the ability to reinvest, and not just keeping the wheels on the bus? So the thought process is, if you can master these three areas, you're going to be able to simplify your business, you're going to be able to prosper, and you're going to be able to thrive. And this is what we call it Inspire Care 360. With what we offer Engage, Grow, and Optimize as our three divisions. We call this the Child Care Owner Success Model. So why Inspire Care 360? From our members who've taken advantage of what we do, we believe that for the cost of our membership, it's about a 19 times return on that investment. Our membership works an awful lot, sort of like a health club, or I don't know, country club for those of you who can afford that. Membership where you pay one fee and you get a plethora of well-defined, high-quality services. And in those services that you get offered, you are getting hopefully things that are very measurable that really affect your bottom line. And we're going to talk about some of those in a second. So when we look at it with what we offer, we really address what was the biggest issue, and that's staff. So when we look at staff underneath our division of Engage, we bring to our members three big bucket areas that break out into a lot of sub buckets. There's a lot of what I call tip of the icebergs here, because we do an awful lot for our members. Most of the things come with our membership. A few of the things have an extra fee to them, just like you would with a health club membership. You know, you might be able to go in and have, you know, do yoga and do swimming, and may go, you know, do rock climbing in there, but you might have to pay for a birthday party, and you have to pay to play golf or what have you, or spa treatment. So with our solution, most of the things come with it. And part of what comes with the Engage model is we have onboarding. Onboarding includes doing and creating with our members an employee handbook that is childcare specific, talks to the needs of a childcare center, to the needs of the teammates in a childcare business, and it's all done in a training environment, so people it becomes the basis of it. We also do employee orientations, and we also do all the operational procedures right up from 6 weeks all the way to school age programs and everywhere in between. And then the ability to apply those through a measured mentoring program that's all about applying the knowledge, where they get up to 80% retention, which is critical. In doing all that onboarding in a very short window of time, only because you get a return on the investment once they get through that individual, and that's where they're going to start staying. And that is taking someone who organically may do it in about a year. We try to get it down to about a month, month and a half. Then we have a lot of professional growth and professional development courses, from conflict management to everything speaks in your center about how you brand your center, to how to drive enrollments. And this is not only for your directors, it's for your teachers and everything in between. So there's 60 different courses that we have developed that all come with the membership. And then as part of this too, we have HR support that we'll talk about all through business hours available, portals available. And then we just rolled out our healthcare, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we really think for this industry, 60% of staff members don't have healthcare. And we really believe we've got a solution, the first in the industry, that really sort of checks a big box, very affordable, very flexible. The second element is enrollments. So how do we help with enrollments? With our Grow division, first thing we do is we do a brand assessment. And to do that, we do this assessment first with your staff, because we believe that your brand, your reputation really starts with your staff. If you've ever been to like a sit-down restaurant, probably before COVID, but if you've ever been to a sit-down restaurant and if you were to hear a staff member who was talking to a friend behind you in the booth, sort of eavesdropping, and they were to say, yeah, I'm really not into this company I'm at, I gotta look for a new job. Are they saying that, or are they saying, hey, you know what, I'd love to have you come work for our child care center. It's amazing, we just do great things there. That is what your reputation is, and it starts with your staff. And then it goes to your family. So then we assess it with your families. Then we assess it with your digital community. We also have the means for you to get the word out through digital marketing, and also getting websites from a basic website all the way to a highly interactive parent portal type of website. We build those for our members. And then reputation management. We help you manage from star ratings that make sure that you get all the very best star ratings out of your families, to make sure that someone doesn't come and really demonize you online for any reason. We can help you manage that. That'll be a problem of the past, as well as protect it if you ever got in a crisis, is to have that crisis management support, along with like exit interviews and the support. And then your last element really is operations. The thing that we start with, really going, why aren't we making the money? And that is to help you optimize it. We provide financial guidance support as to what are the benchmarks in the industry, where are you at, where are you against those benchmarks, and how can you get a roadmap to get there. We also are just introducing coaching and mentoring. These are owner-operators of highly successful centers that started off where they just had a place in their home. They weren't even in the industry, but they figured it out, and they were able to build up a really strong business that made an awful lot of sense for them and all their teammates. And now they have that opportunity to mentor and coach others, and they're going to be part of the IC 360 family to do that. And the last one, which is actually a very big one, it's where one of the elements that we started with, we built a nationwide savings program that is sort of second to none on all your supplies, from food, office, school, anywhere from 20% to 30% savings, depending on where you are, where you're located, on capital goods, refrigerators, and any kind of kitchen equipment, playground equipment. We've also helped people with finding HVAC systems or vestibules because of COVID. So Chromebooks, all those kind of things, highly discounted, all part of the membership, which actually, that alone, or one of those elements, pays for the entire membership alone too. So just some of the highlights. There's a lot of slides that you can see here, but this is just a highlight of some of the things, again, that we do. Like orientations that are personalized and you can deliver over and over again. Our professional development, which is highly engaging. We have CDA, 120-hour CDA courses that are $199. On average, they're almost $500 to $900 for these courses, but for a 120-hour course, we have them for $199 exclusive for our members. HR advisors that are available throughout the day, like we talked about, performance tools that really are wizards that simplify your performance evaluations. Take something that might take several hours to do and bring it down to 20 minutes to a half hour to do those things. They're all part of our platform. And then Healthy Advantage, which I'll come back to in a moment, which is that affordable and flexible healthcare program. These are all under that Engage division. Underneath our grow area is really about how we come and do that audit, that brand assessment, that reputation management. How do we make sure you get those 4 or 5-star ratings consistently from all that latent goodwill that you have with your staff, in addition to your families that are with you today, and including people who've gone through interviews with you, including families that have gone through tours with you. And then how do we protect you in case of a crisis? And that's under our grow division with other elements too, including exit interviews. And then from our coaching and financial mentoring to our nationally negotiated pricing. And then we tie this all together with our advocacy, our VP of Membership Advocacy. She's with you on the journey all the way. She helps you from day number 1. She's in contact with you constantly, once a month meetings. So it's nothing about set it and forget it with us. It's really about a journey with you to get you to a great place. But I mentioned I was going to talk about Healthy Advantage. And Healthy Advantage, IC360 Healthy Advantage is really an amazing program that we've just put together. This is offering healthcare benefits for staff members that is truly affordable and flexible. It also offers other programs for dental and vision. It also includes telemedicine, but the program levels start on the low end from $11.50 a paycheck for an employee to about $90 for an entire family a paycheck, but it covers $15 office visits, $15 specialist visits. You're talking about medications that are covered at $8, $10, even premium medications are all covered underneath it. Having all your urgent care, all your visits for lab work, any kind of behavioral specialist, that's all covered within, and there's a lot more you can learn about it. And it's $25 the cost for an employer to offer it for one employee. And if you're a non-member, this is the only thing we're doing right now for non-members. It's $35 for a non-member if you're not part of our membership. But if you're interested, reach out to us and we'll definitely talk more about it. We have a lot of success in the sense that we have over 170 members from coast to coast. We have members down in Southern Cal up to Maine. We have members that are in Washington State and down in Florida and everywhere in between. And they're not just childcare, they're Reggio programs, they're Montessori. We have a lot of stuff for Montessori programs that are specific to those, as well as private schools up to grade 6. And when you look at the values that we offer, we think if you take an example of one location at 100 potential enrollments, we can actually do a lot to help that turnover, which we can save a lot in that turnover. We can do a lot to help grow those enrollments for the profitability of those enrollments. We can do a lot to help you save on those kind of purchases that you're making. That gives you a hard dollar amount that can hit the bottom line for one location, but that's how we get to that 19 times return on investment. So a bit in summary from what Inspire Care 360 offers is we looked at the problems first. And the problems were staffing, which we all know, reputation enrollment, operational savings. And what Inspire Care 360 does is we bring the divisions of the Engage, Grow, and Optimize. And we believe that's what's going to help you get to, in us helping you be shoulder to shoulder to get to that childcare success model where you engage your staff and families, you grow your enrollments and reputation, you optimize your operations and savings, and you simplify your business. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to give also all of you an offer too. And I believe Diane, as well as Cindy, may look to send this out to you. And this is a membership exclusive offer for NCCA members exclusively. If you're a non-member on this call for some reason, I would highly recommend you become a member of NCCA. The benefit of being a member is tremendous, but because of our partnership, we came up with a solution that we want to offer all of you. It is something we typically do sell, and it's about a $500 program. And this is a free staff proficiency in school professionalism assessment. This is how are your staff members basically a professional in being a staff member, and what are really the gaps. So the assessment will help you identify professionalism gaps as well as cultural alignment with your team. right? Makes sense. What are those gaps so you can look to fix those? Then understand the individuals who have those issues in your team, and then identify what a master performer really looks like, an average and a below average performer sort of identifies within your center. How many do you really have who are really master performers? How many are average or how many below average? And then provide you with a roadmap to understand a little bit about what you can do to address those things. This is at the outlay, 495 is very low for that, but I want to say we think it's an honor that we've been able to be put in this opportunity to provide you with a presentation today. So please do not hesitate to contact, and we want you to learn a little bit more about us, but hopefully Walk the Line has been something that's been valuable for you. Cindy, I'll invite you back on. At this time, I think we have about 5 minutes left in the overall hour.
Yes, and Tony, I'll tell you, I was taking pictures of some of the slides, even though I'm sure I can.
I'll give you the deck if you want.
Thank you.
It's only going to be $495. No, I'm just kidding.
I just get really excited when I see things that maybe I knew before and needed to be reminded of that can work. And then, of course, you've added some great ideas to my own learning, portfolio. And since I have lots of opportunities to talk with our members out there about some of their challenges, and then of course, working with someone directly to keep myself in check, kind of like when you did the toddler room for 2 to 3 weeks.
That keeps you in check.
Yes, reminding me what
your blood pressure keeps you in check.
Yes. And so, I mean, it just reinforces what I already knew about you, is that you work from what you've learned in the trench and taking it to help others living in the trench that are struggling to get out. And I know from working in corporate America, where we had all of the resources that you're talking about aren't available necessarily to a 1 center owner or even a 10 center owner. And I'm really glad that it's out there through Inspire Care, because we really need for the individuals that work in this industry to succeed for families and children. Yeah. There are only 7%, or 93% of all children being taken care of right now in the United States are in small business providers. Wow. And if they're not successful, what's going to happen to our infrastructure and to our children in, care and early care and education programs? And I learned a long time ago by working with the local child care associations that whether you are a provider and you work for someone that owns, 1,000 centers, or you are a provider with 1, we all have the same pain and the same opportunity. But what we didn't have was the same opportunity to have someone like yourself, that has done this and has brought together this incredible resource. I appreciate it. I do want to thank you for the offer that you're making to NCCA members. Geez, I can't imagine people wouldn't want to, participate in that. And ultimately, we will be sending out an email with that link in it, so that you can participate. If you're not a member of NCCA and would like to participate, you can go on and join today. That website is nccanet.org. And you can also call me at 1-877-537-6222. And I will be happy to, talk to you and give you whatever direction or help you need in order to begin a relationship with us. We look forward to having more people join us so that we can help support childcare nationwide and continue to help our legislators and everyone in politics realize just how essential you all are, because you are the #1 essential. All of the other essential folks can't go to work without childcare. So we can help you with that. I know that I do want to compliment Tony on sharing his bedhead. I Thoroughly. I just had to bring that up. I made a few notes about what I wanted to remember. And
That's the one thing, Cindy, huh?
I know, well, in my own family, when we do vacations together and, we
Uh-huh.
might be renting a house or something, then we all get up to get our coffee. We have bedhead contest. I personally have won a few because I too have short hair and I kind of, spike it a little bit and play, have the messy do.
I
So
could be a contender at your house then.
yes, you could. And so that was one of the things that, really stood out to me, that you're also a fun person. And you brought that up about hiring people to a culture. And I saw the word smile in your presentation. And that is personally one of the things I learned well into my career is if somebody comes to an interview and they aren't smiling when you talk about children, but they're saying to me, I just love children, we're done with the interview. It just gotta have the right personality, and you can train that personality. So again, I could go on for days, but I will tell you something that I thought of from my career that I used to talk to directors about, and I think it's very in line with everything you said, and that is happy teachers make for happy children, make for happy parents. And when you have happy parents, you will have a thriving business. And that's kind of a very simplistic way of looking at it, but it's true. It was true 30 years ago. It's true today.
Yep.
And
It
finding
is the
people
secret
that are
sauce.
happy to
Yep.
begin with, is a good start. So that speaks to the culture. So thank you for sharing all of your great information today. And again, thanks to everyone that participated. And again, please let us know what we can do to further help you in your quest to have a thriving early care and education program. And also look for the survey, because we're sending out a survey and we want feedback from you about our webinars. So remember, you're our customer and we want you to be happy and satisfied with what we can do for and with you. So thanks to everyone. And I wish everyone a good rest of the day and week. No, a great rest of the day and week.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Cindy.